Hello, and welcome to our latest episode of the Hubscale Podcast, where we connect with leading pioneers in the cybersecurity space. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Tim MalcomVetter, the CEO and co-founder of Wirespeed. Tim, it's amazing to have you on the pod. How's it going?
Good. I don't think I've ever heard someone say my last name quite like that, and I spot on, but the accent, I liked it better than why I say it. So yeah, we're off to a great start.
Manchester twang, yeah, happy
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
But yeah, obviously, I'm really keen to share more about Wirespeed and dig into what you do with the audience. Obviously, talk everything AI SOC and your predictions for the space moving forward. But I think before we do that, let's run it back a little bit. Obviously, you've had a illustrious career in the game, so yeah, talk to me a bit about your journey so far in cybersecurity and how you've got into the shoes that you're in today.
I don't know about illustrious, but put in the work. Let's put it that way. 25 years. I usually tell people worked in small companies, big companies, a lot of mid enterprise, all the way to ran the red team at the world's largest company, Walmart, Fortune One, for 5 years. It was a great experience. I just fortunate that I can look back and like every last event that I did, every last stint, like somehow connected to the next one, and they're all just growing and connected. It's relationships. It's also skills and everything else, and it's been exciting. Ran managed security services at a company called Sideris. Went and led strategy for a little bit at a company called NetSpy, largest pen test company in the world, and where I met my co-founder Jake. And Jake and I struck out a little over a year ago. We just celebrated our 1 year birthday anniversary, whatever you want to call it, for our little startup last week. And yeah, we're growing and doing cool stuff.
Unreal. Yeah, there's a lot of Jakes in cyber by the sounds of it,
Yeah,
but
you guys, there's a couple Jakes there, and they're like, yeah, we've
yeah,
got a
exactly.
Spencer and a Josh, and we had people apply that were also Spencer and Josh. And we're like, I don't think we can just keep doing this. We're going to put name requirements on the applicants.
Yeah, the Jays are taking over.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's obviously not a bad rodeo you've had so far. And at what stage did you, I suppose, first start to experience automation in action?
So I always like to talk about a story. So I'd say I was really, really fortunate to be red teaming at Walmart when EDR was just starting to come out and get deployed and just starting to really get mature. Now it's like virtually everywhere, which is great. The industry needs it. And so I got to go really, really deep in malware. We built all kinds of really cool custom stuff, custom C2, like all kinds of like automations and things. We were inspired majorly by like the Vault 7 leaks and built a lot of the features we saw that came out of there, like checking for what tools are present, what drivers are present, that kind of stuff. And actually literally built, we called them like the bumpers on the bowling alley. I don't know if that resonates at all with you Brits or not. If you could bowl, I don't even know. Is that
Yeah,
American
bowling,
sport? What is
yeah, it's
that?
still the
Okay, but
same.
like the idea of like we're going to keep somebody from making mistakes. So we'd see, okay, this control's present. So we were able to do things like say, okay, these techniques are out. And they're like we literally tasked them by TTP and like you can't do these here. And we try to put and we made it where you had to have guardrails and an override or get a supervisor, the second operator, to basically say, yeah, we know what we're doing. We want to do it in this scenario anyway. So we started doing stuff like that, and it became really neat. One of the cool things the company like Walmart gets to do is they get to use their scale against the bad guys in a different way. So we would get caught on weird things like we'd have custom stagers, everything would be clean, like everything would be unique binaries, everything would like we just knew it would bypass anything, right, at first stage. Did all kinds of stuff to stop like sandbox tools that would come and try to detonate our things. We'd had sandbox to detonate like detections and all kinds of stuff we would do. Give fake payloads, just crazy. We had too much time and too much creativity, and we were able to go build a lot of cool stuff. But even despite all that, after we would spend a long time just getting access to it in a single endpoint and actually run on that endpoint, it would be really interesting. We'd have a binary that's unique, and in a company that size, if you're doing a pilot, it's usually a couple hundred machines. So you would never have a unique binary never before seen in the environment that was at that low of a quantity. So that meant they used it to stick out like a sore thumb. It's a really cool talk. A shout out to one of the guys there. They do a security conference every year that I got to create called SparkCon, and there was a talk one I think in 2017 by a guy named Vernon Habersatzer. If you go, anyone looking this and really interested, he talks about being able to take the scale and flip it the other direction. Well, they were able to use that and to contain us. So I remember, and this is early days. I can say the exact year, but probably somewhere around 2017 or 18ish. Containing bad guys was like something you don't really hear of very often. You'd hear of yeah, obviously, like that was still in the time frame where Mandiant was their M-Trends reports were saying bad guys live in an environment like an average of 100 something a days before they're identified. By the way, dwell
Yes.
time doesn't mean they're caught. It means you know they're there. And a lot of times the dwell time you know they're there because they wrote a ransom note and told you, right? So like that number was artificially lower than it should have been. We anyway, we would get caught in like I remember the first time was in a few hours, like 3, 4 hours. And we spent probably an hour as red teamers in denial that we were caught, checking everything. We had complicated infrastructure, things were hopping like across different, layers in our C2 and our like proxies and stuff. And we're double checking everything. Like, is this working? Is it what? And like after an hour, we're going, no, everything's up. We have no other conclusion but to believe they got us. And we just started like on Zoom, like a whole team of us started just golf clapping real slow that they were able to go contain us that fast. And then it got better and better and better. And like in that experience, I usually, when I'm talking to red team guys that have built inside of a company, not people that do consulting, you don't see the same thing. But when you're inside and you're going against the same defender time and time again, the program roughly matches like a double helix. So red team starts out their way ahead and blue team's behind naturally, right? For a while. Blue team takes one or two of these on the chin and says, no more, right? We're going to figure this out. And then they catch. And when that first happens, that is like usually the biggest ego drop moment for the red team that they'll ever experience in their life. Because if you're a consulting red teamer, you'll go to another customer that can't afford a red team in 2 years, and they'll go do it, and you'll just walk through a cakewalk, take everything you need, and it's up to you. It's like really you versus the controls, not you against the human. Like, can you beat CrowdStrike? Can you beat Sentinel-1? That's really what the conversation is. It's not can you beat an adversary who sees a detection and then that is a like a gray, not 100% confident detection that then takes action to contain you. It's a totally different deal. So anyway, you see that like Helix and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and blue, whatever. And so when we were going through that whole process, it was 4 hours at first, and then it started getting down to like a couple hours. And I remember sitting down with my team and saying, okay, we're going to whiteboard this out. I'm going to make you think in algorithms. And I had one of these guys who's a good friend of mine still doing this work. And he's like, Tim, I don't think in algorithms. It's like, what do you mean you don't think in algorithms? He's like, I don't know, man. I was like, all right, so you get a shell, like a shell calls back. What do you do? And he goes, I don't know, man. I got to feel the shell. And I was like, shut up. Feel the shell? What does that even mean? He's like, well, I don't know. I just, what kind of shell is it? I can't answer this. And so I got him to spend like an hour, maybe two, and we walk through like, if it's this, well, I'm going to look, if it's a Linux box, I'm going to look at Etsy and I'm going to look at these files. I'm going to look for this kind of stuff. If it's a Windows box, I'm going to look here. I'm going to check for these things. And like, I'm going to figure out where I'm at. And then I was like, okay, what's next? And like, I'm going to go look for these things. And I was like, okay, we whiteboarded it out. And I said, John, you think in an algorithm? He's like, no, I don't. I was like, yes, you do. So we built the algorithm for our automated C2 and we started doing it down that way. So fast forward a couple years later, many years later, I'm now on the other side managing a really large outsourced managed SOC. And we're desperate in need of automation in order to keep up with the alert volume, right? Like alerts are just coming in. It doesn't matter how many people we hire. Customer telemetry is just always going to outpace the human. And looking at this, and I'm sitting down going, okay, with one of these blue team SOC leads and saying, okay, what would you do to work this case? And he goes, I don't know. I think I need to feel the case, right? And like he didn't say it exactly the same way, but I was like, I've lived this, but I lived the other side of it. I lived the red team side. So that I did the same thing with them. I made them sit down and realize, okay, your SOP documents, that's an algorithm. You're not thinking of it like that. You don't have all the edge cases defined. You don't have everything like you're not thinking discretely this way, but you are thinking algorithmically. And that, by the way, is the basis for Wirespeed. We just took that algorithm concept, we wrote it as code, and now we take customers' telemetry and we make all the same decisions that a SOC analyst would work and do triaging to make a good decision. Is this good alert, bad alert? Do I need to correlate this with something else? Do I need to go look for something else? Do I need to go ping a user and ask a question to get context? All those things. Like it's the same exact context. So to me, all these problems are roughly the same problem. It's just which context are you in? Are you in offense or defense?
Nice. Yeah, great answer. And I mean, obviously, following on from your comments there, when did you start to really envisage Wirespeed? Maybe you didn't have the name yet, but the idea behind it, when did that start to?
Oh, dude, yeah. I wanted to do this at that managed SOC. They didn't have any interest in doing it. And so it's part of the reason why I left. They like I we did some really cool stuff. We were able to, while I was there, we got to 89% case automation across the board. We went from 4% to 89% in
Nice.
1 year. The 4% time when we were there, the SOC was getting knocked over. Customers were not getting the service that they needed. We were peaking out really slow response times. I won't even say on this recording how bad some of those were because I mean, they had the right to be mad, and that's the reason why I leaned in to fix it. We fixed it pretty quickly, and we turned it way around. A couple things happened in that time frame that are interesting. One, when you start doing automated triage like that, you start giving the same, like you give templatized responses back to customers. One of the things that was unexpected is I had customers freaking out about that. This is automated. I paid for a human to look at every alert. And then you have to start thinking about this and go, stop. You see how many millions of events you sent us this month alone? Do you really think human eyeballs are going to look at every one of them? And you have to bring them down this reality train. Like, no, you're not going to have humans look at every one of them. So, but I need a human to go like put content. Like, hold on, do you want? Stop thinking about this for a second. Am I paying and hiring this SOC analyst for his grammar skills, or am I paying him for his decision? Like, this is good, this is bad. What am I paying him for? Like, well, I think I really just care about that more. Good. If I give you what they used to put it, like when we started this, I had to have stock analysts just go false positive and close out. And I get customers upset about that. Like, why is it a false positive? I want this dissertation to explain it. And you got to stop and think, dude, you see how this queue works? Like, there's literally thousands of alerts per hour coming into this thing, this giant hopper. You want us to spend time like writing a dissertation on a false positive? Really? So, the expectations around customers were weird. And we knew we needed to go do this, and we did a lot of it there. But no, having a chance to get out and be just completely disconnected on a clean sheet of paper and say, how can I do it completely better, start to finish, with all of the assumptions gone? Like, how can we just do that?
Nice.
That's what we're able to go do. And I knew the second I was leaving that I was going to go build that. The question was how long and it was going to take, and would it be successful or not? And I'm happy to say we're 1 year in Q2. We just across all of our customer base, 96.7% alert volume reduction. So we triaged thousands and thousands of alerts, took down 96.7% without bothering customers about them. By the way, full explanation as to every single one of them, why we didn't tell you about them. Every single check, every is in a timeline. You can audit everything to your heart's content. We even sync the ticket status back. If you got Defender sent one, whatever, we close the ticket and with a one-to-one link, so you can go in your product console that you've got and go, well, this is bad. I don't like this, and then come back over here and go, oh, well, I see why they did it. And so, yeah, the journey's different, but I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's insane. Obviously the percentages you're at now compared to to when you first started in the
Yeah.
journey is ridiculous. And yeah, testament to
And by the way, we think the 3.3% that escalated isn't accurate. We realized we weren't tracking the right data because sometimes we'll say, hey, Jake, I want to let you know that we took action on this account. Just FYI. And we count that as an escalation. So we weren't distinguishing which ones are just situational awareness escalations versus, hey, Jake, we don't know what the heck is going on with this. We've exhausted everything we could do. You need to go tell us if it's good or bad. The last bit of missing context. We tried to ping a user. They didn't respond. We tried to do this. This didn't work. There's probably 1.5% of that 3.3% is probably that, and probably another 1.5-ish% is just heads up, we took action, be aware.
insane. Yeah, no, it's amazing. And obviously, I suppose prior to Wirespeed, you've been part of some obviously fast scaling, agile companies. You've obviously been in the weeds and yeah, getting really hands-on and dirty under the bonnet with stuff. And obviously, you've had to navigate acquisitions. So my question would be now, as a business leader sat on the other side of the table, what are the biggest lessons that you're taking away in scaling fast and navigating acquisitions?
That's a great question. I don't think I fully understand all of them, the answers to that question yet. However, I'd say this. Uh, they say, I was just talking to one of my coworkers this morning. They say the average startup founder is like 30 or under. I'm well past that. I think that makes me better because I know exactly what I want to build, exactly what I want to do. I've seen customer pain points from like I've been the buyer, I've been the seller, I've been the practitioner, I've been the one delivering the services, I've been like every one of those roles. I've been the guy breaking into the business, I've been the one defending it. Like I think that gives me a different perspective. The things that are interesting and struggles are all the paper cuts. So it's getting the accounting stuff set up, getting the legal stuff set up, getting the like going through the Microsoft partner onboarding 33 times because their automated process rejects us for no valid reason. Yep, that happened a lot. It's going through all that junk. That's the stuff I think where you have to have the tenacity. Honestly, like I know what we want to build, and we're building it, and that like that passion's not gone at all. But the days you're like, seriously, I have to go. I call this state government and go get this phone number because they can't give it to me on their website in order to make sure I pay somebody legally. That's the thing that I need to be distracted on and thinking about today. That's the stuff that's frustrating as a startup founder. And that's the stuff that, like, if you can get support networks to go do that, that are interesting. The other thing that's really interesting is, again, it's all the business side stuff. It's getting quote to cash, that whole process. I'm surprised. All these financial services companies that are out, they'll do like, I'll be your banking service. I'll put your money across multiple accounts so that they're all FDIC insured, using sweep networks and stuff. I'll do all this cool stuff. But they all do pieces of it. Like I'll do your accounting. I'll do your bill pay. I'll do your banking, but no one's like, and like, I'll do invoicing, but not very well. And this is like, I'll do invoicing really, really well, but I won't do the other things really well. And you're like, I'm a startup. How many? I've got 5 tools to do this. That's the kind of thing. Also, it's like, man, if that stuff was just solved and I could just focus on the technical problem and talking to customers and getting it, that I would easily save 10 to 20% of my time. How much farther and faster could we be if I didn't have to deal with that kind of junk? So yeah, those are the things that are they're not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I think that'll resonate with a lot of people watching this who are in the startup world. So, yeah, no, great points. I mean, obviously, let's talk Wirespeed. Obviously, you
Mhm.
guys have been flying. You're obviously in kind of the premature days as a business as it stands. Really keen to dig into now a bit more about you guys as a company, what your mission is, and kind of how you stand out from such a competitive space. So, yeah, firstly, how did the idea come about?
The idea came about just that couple things. Cybersecurity is expensive. It doesn't have to be. Cybersecurity response companies are slow. I mean, they shouldn't have to be. The standard MO, I think, still in 2025. I haven't like tried to go buy an MSSP contract this year, but like last year, the standard MO for a sales guy was to say, "Hey, here's what we do," and then you go, "But how fast are you?" They go, "You twist my arm. I'm going to give you an SLA package," and they won't even like offer to you the first tier. Like you have to ask for it, and then you get an SLA package. You look at it, it's like, yeah, I'm going to look at your tier one alerts in 2 hours, your Sev one alerts in 2 hours, your Sev two in like 4 or 8 or whatever number, and like it gets all the way down to like sometimes 72 hours for the Sev three alerts, and you're looking at this going, oh, okay. And most customers will stop there. Some customers go, wait a minute, that's not good enough. And they go, twist my arm. I've got a better one that's been in my back pocket the whole time and just waiting to see if you're going to ask for it, and then they'll go give you that even better package, and like here's where it is. But here's the thing that's fundamentally flawed about that. One, um, who defines the severity of it? How do you know what the severity of an alert is until someone's triaged it? So fundamentally, it's backwards and stupid. Like the classic thing among red teamers is to take a bunch of lows and chain it to a high, right? I take a bunch of low vulnerabilities and I can now take over something. A pen tester's been doing this for a long time. The same exact thing happens in real life. Sometimes it's a low severity signal because it's your only signal you get, and sometimes the only signal you get, you start pulling on it and you go, whoa, there's something else here because somebody's either evaded detections or your detections are broken or your sensors are not deployed right or whatever, right? So like so fundamentally from the get go, this whole like idea of human based, I joke and say these SLAs are getting priority access to human compute. So if you think about it as like when I started my career, I worked for a hospital. Every time an application was going to be installed, we bought new fetal heart monitoring system. They would go out and buy an HP or Dell 1U rack mount server for the web app, and they'd go buy like a 2U one with extra disks in it for the database, and they go provision them. And they would sit there at 3% CPU utilization for the life of their existence at tens of thousands of dollars a piece, right? Very expensive and stupid. And obviously, VMware came along and said, hey, I can just sell you one big piece of hardware and then you drop VMware on it and then I can splice this up and it's better, right? So it's like, okay, cool. That's kind of what SOC is like because what I'm doing is I'm buying so that if I'm internally hiring a SOC, I've got to buy these 1U, servers that I'm not going to use because most companies aren't going to be able to use them. But in the real world, I have to have at least 7 FTEs if I want to have 24 by 7, 365 coverage and coverage for PTO. And if I just say round numbers, and this is not even close to market, right? If you're getting anybody good, let's say they're $100,000 a piece. Well, that's $700,000 annual, and that's not counting hardware, licenses. There's probably tax. It's gonna be it's gonna be over $1 million to go do this realistically for any company, plus the tools, right? And I say, okay, so I can go down to a managed security provider, which is kind of like VMware in like the early 2000s,
Mhm.
and say, yep, no problem. We've got a SOC, and basically, I'm going to carve off a virtual, chunk of my human compute, my SOC, and I'm going to sell it to you for a fraction of the price. Call it half, $350,000. Like, okay, that's a good savings. I can't afford the other one. I have to have this. Boom. That's where managed services were born. But what we're seeing now is the same thing where the invention of the cloud came in, where AWS said, hey, I don't know, I don't need to sell you a VM. I can sell you elastic compute that goes up and down with what the demand is. And that's kind of where we're headed, right? We're like saying, I don't want to sell you priority access to the human compute because guess what? If I have I'm going to pick on CrowdStrike, blue screen of death today, and my entire SOC is just slammed dealing with everybody's problem because it's universal. It hits 60, 70% of our customers across the board. Everybody is slammed that day dealing with a dumb thing. I'm going to miss your alert and not hit response times. That's the same exact thing as saying, I've got this really big beefy box in my data center I'm running VMware on, but if all of them all of a sudden, if I have like six VMs spiking 100% CPU, what happens? The little apps don't get the CPU, they get starved. Same exact problem. So what we're doing over here is saying, this is dumb. Let's take this out. Let's build this basically the same way we do Elastic Compute. And it's literally Elastic Compute on the back end. So as we get more compute, as we get more signal that we need to go process, we spin up more and more compute that goes and processes the alerts. Same exact concept. So we're able to go do this at a scale that others can't. And so back to the primary pain points. It's expensive. Cyber is expensive. Cyber is slow. And the other big thing that we have is security providers in the MDR space. I basically joked and I used to say that I played churn goalie when I was at the other company for a long time. Customers would come in and they would say during a QBR, Tim, it feels like we pay you to investigate alerts only for you to throw them over the fence at us to investigate. And now that's not a knock at that particular MSSP because I've talked to like 10 of them and they all have had customers that say that. And I've talked to many customers that every time I say that to them, they chuckle because they know they've all experienced it. And so like sat down, spent several hours just, why is this? What's the crux of this? And the crux of this, if you distill it down, is I see Jane Doe did a thing, right? Jane Doe's account maybe made a persistence change in Azure, right? Cool. Well, that's interesting. That kind of persistence change is suspicious. But what did Jane, was it really Jane that did it? Or did somebody take over an account? I don't know. So how do you get that context? I have to go call Jane Doe. Well, what does an MSSP do? Well, I've got this giant funnel of alerts, and I've got my world-class SOC, which is a bunch of people that are probably on average working, they've been in cyber for 12, 18 months, maybe 24. And they're in here and they're like that old Capital One commercial that maybe you're not old enough to remember this, Jake, but there was a Capital One commercial where people were walking around the stores and it was like in a rhythm. They're like doing like I don't know, like a samba dance or something. And they would come up and swipe their card, swipe their card, swipe their card. And this one grandpa would get out his checkbook and like the record scratch and the whole store came to a halt. Well, that's what the SOC would be like if they looked at this alert and said, Jane Doe did a thing. I need to get a hold of Jane Doe. Record scratch. How do I get a hold of Jane Doe? I don't know who Jane Doe is. I don't have contact info for her probably at all. Assuming I did and I could get a hold of Jane Doe, I don't know if I'm talking to real Jane Doe on the other line or an impersonator, a bad guy. I don't know. So we built chat ops that solves this problem by reaching out directly to the user over Slack, Teams, email, SMS. We have out-of-band MFA to validate I'm talking to real Jane Doe, and we make that one of our core missions. Whereas, legacy MDR providers are scared. They don't even, if you were the customer, Jake, they wouldn't even want to talk to you. Like they would not admit it. They'd be like, I don't, I'm scared of even talking to you. To talk to your users, that's terrifying. And then what we found through doing this, which is also really fun, is that our customer, so let's say you're the security guy at Acme Bank, right? I send an escalation to you. What I found is you're very likely to also be terrified to talk to your users. We are a nation full or like an industry full of introverts, and we don't want to admit it. That's why we're in cyber. That's why we work in SOC, and that's why we do the things we do. So if I'm an introvert and like it's painful for me to want to reach out, I'm going to take this alert and go, oh, dang, you know what? Yeah, I should talk to Jane, but this thing over here that's not as important, I probably should spend my time on that instead because it doesn't give me mental friction the same way. And maybe the other 16 things underneath it, I'll do all 17 of these before I call Jane. I know I'm probably giving the bad guy dwell time. I don't care. It's not at the end of the day my like it's the employer, it's the big company's money. It's not my money. Like I just I don't want to really talk to Jane. Right. And that's what we found. So like that's another part of this problem that we've solved. And basically, long story short, because I'm just rambling at you, there's a lot of pain in cyber. It's slow. It relies too much on human processes. Humans are great. Let's use them for what they're supposed to do. Let's not inundate them with dumb tasks.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to hear your perspective because I know different leaders in the ISOC space have different ideas, which we'll go into later. But let's talk about your partnership with Jake as well.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
But
Shout
let's
out to Jake and all the Jakes. How about
yeah,
that?
exactly. But why Jake, I guess? And I imagine when you were exploring kind of co-founding this business with someone, you probably were speaking to quite a number of people and obviously
Yeah.
testing the waters. But why did it feel like the right fit with Jake, and why did you envisage that as a successful partnership?
Well, what's really funny, you guys just, I think, interviewed Aaron Schiltz from NetSpy not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to Aaron. Aaron, when I came over to NetSpy, said, I want to introduce you to Jake. And he described him as if I was bootstrapping a company tomorrow, he'd be my first hire. So I was like, I want to go start a business, start a new company. And like, right there, thanks. So it started from day one, like the seed was planted.
Hmm.
Jake built the attack surface management platform and took it from zero revenue up to where it is today for them. He built a bunch of their pen test as a service platform. He's got all of the backing. He's a principal level consultant as well. He did a bunch of really deep AppSec stuff along the way. Very opinionated about what good tech needs to look like, and he's very fast. So when we started talking about this, I told him what I wanted to go build, and by this point, he had actually already left NetSpy and was going to start his own thing. He wanted to go build something fresh, and he had a couple of ideas, and he chased them. And I checked in with him a few months in because I was kind of disappointed that he left. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, hey, how are things going? And my whole entire intent was to ping him, and if it wasn't going well, to go pitch this idea. And he goes, yeah, like I've got some cool tech, and it was neat, it's cool stuff. And he's like, but he's like not finding product market fit. He's not finding people are interested in necessarily buying it or even becoming like a deep design partner or anything to go build it out. So I said, hey, let me tell you what I want to go build. And as soon as I did it, he's like, Tim, you gotta quit your job now. Like we're gonna go do this together.
Hmm.
So between the fact that I knew exactly what I wanted to build and he knew exactly how to build it, he had an MVP up by that weekend. I mean, it is essentially the same skeleton. We didn't scrap what he built. That is the skeleton of what is in Wirespeed today. And we've added features so quickly. He was able to plan because he knew what a fully developed product needs to look like at scale. So he was building things very intentionally around that. I had very intentional features that I knew that we needed to be able to account for. So we didn't have a lot of those common mistakes you see where you build something and you down a certain path and you hit a dead end and go, crap, we didn't account for some requirement. So now we have to go back up, scrap a whole bunch. We've had to scrap a little bit, like anybody has to scrap a little bit, but man, we've been pretty efficient about what we've built the whole way through. And it's just been able to pull together really quickly. He's found a lot of the cool components that we've used and vetted them. We vetted a lot of things we didn't pull in, but he's just fast and very attentive to detail. And what's funny is like we've added a couple engineers now, and they've very much aware of this. They can see that while working with him. Like, yep, he's very smart. He's also at the same time he's not a jerk about it. You know what I mean? Like he's very approachable to them,
Hmm.
and that's exactly what we need to grow. So yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't be happier with Jake.
Nice. Sounds like a perfect environment. And
Yeah.
what's the longer term vision? I know we've spoken about the kind of ambitious goals you guys have got and kind of how you're going to get there. But just for the audience sake,
Yeah.
what is the kind of, I suppose, short to mid-term goals for Wirespeed over the next few years in terms of, I suppose, ARR, in terms of headcount and growth? What are you guys
Yeah.
looking to achieve?
Well, first and foremost, we want to stop bad guys. I mean, none of this matters if we don't stop bad guys. We want to stop bad guys. We want to stop a lot of bad guys. We want to ensure that we stop bad guys. Also, we want to do it in a way that is not spectacular. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lot of MDRs out there that post these like last second saves where like the goalie's at midfield and the ball's slowly trickling back towards the goal and there's no one back there and he sprints and at the last second barely taps it out of bounds. Like that is stupid. We'll never do crap like that. We don't want to do these like posts where, hey, we caught the bad guy. He had domain admin. He's everywhere, and he's staging his ransomware, and we noticed it, and then we contained it. No, we're going to be like, nope, we saw a thing and within 7 minutes we killed it. Like we don't have cool threat intel to share to the world because we're not letting actors get far enough. It's just not there. It's going to all be early stage threat intel. It's not going to be late stage because if everything's working the way it's supposed to work, we should never get that far. So first and foremost, it's that like actually solving the security mission. If we did that and we weren't super financially successful, I'd still count it as a success. That's the point. Number two is really close to that. Doing it while not making customers go to business. I joke and I never want to see our logo on a Formula One car or on a, something equivalent to that. I'm not going to name names again, but there's companies that go out and they have a certain mission and they get a little down the road and we start getting a little spendy, right? And marketing and things like that. I would rather take the Sam Walton approach and be very thrifty about it and do that. So then if we do those two things right on the business side, here's what happens. When I was at Sideris, we broke 100 million ARR with, call it 450 people on the delivery side and another 50 to 100 in go to market and ops, right, back end. So somewhere between 5 and 550-ish people probably involved in that, breaking that, capturing that revenue and serving it. I'd like to do it in 1/10 the scale. So I get around 100 million ARR and like 50. That would be amazing. There's companies that have done this outside of cyber. There's companies that have done way better than that actually outside of cyber. So there's no reason why we can't. And as long as we stay our mission there, and like we do simple, silly little things, like for example, I've stated, and we will emphatically never hire a security analyst. We have security engineers for a reason, not security analysts. We're not going to analyze individual tickets. We're going to engineer processes. We're going to engineer results. We're going to QA things using quality engineering, but we're not going to do analysis. That means we can scale up. Another little silly thing we do. There's no way in our platform anywhere intentionally for any of us to create a case for a customer. We can't. Like the telemetry has to come in and run through the pipeline. If we see something we missed, we call them and we tell them we messed it up. We have a QA process where we can tell them we messed it up, but we do not manually create anything ever. We will never manually create anything ever because we believe in this mission. That's really important to us. So beyond that, like looking in the future, there's a whole swath of SMB and mid-market customers that are just underserved. A lot of companies want to say we're only after the big ones. That's great. They're also very bespoke. It's hard to be repeatable among them. And the big ones are never very satisfied from my experience with their MDR providers. Jake, if you want to find this out, just go ask them, do you love your MDR? And you'll be surprised. They never say yes, right? They never do. So we want to have a bunch of customers that say, yes, we love Wirespeed. And I already do. I texted one of our customers when we closed our seed round and he wrote me back. He goes, that's awesome. We love Wirespeed. And I was like, dude, no one says they love their MDR. And I've got a customer that says they love us. That's amazing. We're already onto something really cool.
Nice.
So we want to be able to build that out. Obviously, financially, we want to continue to grow. There's we think, and so some of our investors, that cyber insurance controls this space. We think that there's a lot there. We've got some cool announcements coming soon we're working on where we'll be able to like literally make financial incentives for customers to make good decisions, right? So imagine this. Today, in today's landscape, in the MDR world, when you are buying an MDR and you're looking at them and you're looking at the old SLA model that we just made fun of, and you're like, I'm going to hold my MDR accountable with these SLAs. You got to respond and do these things at certain times. What if we flip that? What if, like in Marspeed's case, our SLA is we triage literally every alert, and our uptime is 99 point whatever percent. It's all public on our status page. You can see it, and also we publish a cool metric called mean time to verdict, which for most of our customers is somewhere between 800 and 1200 milliseconds. So we're talking subs, a second. A lot of times we are investigating and closing cases out, and so if we're able to go do that at that scale. The SLA model is broken, right, as we talked about, but also, by the way, this is where when you get old, you realize you get so excited about your thing, and you like I call it like I got to go pop the stack. I got to get back up to where it was, and I forget where it was. But the point is, dang, where was it? Where was it? Please leave this in and make fun of me hard about this part. But the goal here, though, is if I'm doing this at scale and I'm doing this in a cost savings way, right, where we're getting customers the value that they want, everything else I think will fall in line. So, I was reversing the SLAs. See, I knew it would come back. So imagine if we did this instead. Like, hey, Jake, we're gonna be your MDR provider. We're gonna probably cut your bill in half because that's on average what we do from the big guys because of how we do it. I don't have the same COGS. I don't have to pay a bajillion SOC analysts to look at these things. We're just being really nimble and very agile, right? And efficient. So because of that, your price is lower, your speed's faster. Okay, cool. I'm going to give you maybe, let's say, some sort of incentive to a financial incentive to do this. And if you can do your part, where we escalate something to you, and you do, if you don't let us contain it, you do your containment within a certain amount of time, I can give you some sort of financial reward back. We think this is the future. It's going to tie into like cyber insurance. Like maybe maybe you get a better coverage on your policy. Maybe we announce in the near future that we've got a breach warranty that somehow incentivizes this. We're like, yep, basically, if we screw up your telemetry, it's on us. If you screw up on your side, it's on you. And by the way, your part, now have an SLA, Mr. Customer. You have to do your piece because customers a lot of times they don't realize that response time is a big chunk. It's on them. But we got to find a way that makes it make sense and makes it exciting and makes it motivating for them. So if I got a customer that gets an escalation and the queues in the tickets just queue up. Maybe they're working them on their side, not telling us. That's not good. Let's figure out a way to like be in sync where I know that you're getting value from us and that I know at the same time you're doing your part to contain stuff and take care of maybe an account that's compromised or whatever here or there. It's like we think that's the vision and that's the future. So we're going to keep just chase revenue, of course, but it's for the purpose of the mission. The mission's bigger than just making a bunch of money for people. The mission is fundamentally change cyber. If you look at how much money is spent on cybersecurity and how much money goes up for breaches, if you were an actuary that just landed here from another planet, you might say, well, maybe the problem is you're spending too much money on cyber, and that's the reason why you're having breaches because they're like kind of correlated and they're going the same direction. We want to flip that. 100% want to flip that.
Unreal. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I'm keen to watch from afar and see how things play out. But let's talk about I suppose the AI SOC space in general, and I know you guys kind of label yourself as more of automated MDR as opposed to AI SOC, and obviously that's a conversation in itself. But obviously, I think about 12 months ago, there's probably two, three, four vendors operating in the space, and now there's over 40, probably in direct competition. So it's becoming more saturated, and everyone's trying to find that unique selling point of what makes us stand out. But from your side, where do you see this space going, and why
Yeah.
have you chosen to go down more of a route of automated MDR as opposed to AI SOC? And
So first of all, I mean, there's so many things. I hope I can get them all in the time. So many thoughts and ideas here. So the first thing that matters is we've been buyers and practitioners our whole careers. I have been marketed for 25 years, and I got to tell you, I can count on one hand the number of companies that I ever liked their marketing and cyber. I've hated it. I've thought it's snake oil. It sounds Me Too-ish. I guarantee you, everyone watching this can think of probably 20 brands that some vendor or some sales reps contacted them, and they go to their website, and you're looking at it. There's all this content on the screen, but you have no freaking idea what they do, right? Because it's so abstract and generic and bland and just So first things first, like we want to be very clear about what it is we do. Second thing, dude, practitioners, these technical people, there are people, right? They're just like us. They are absolutely sick and tired of hearing AI buzzwords thrown down their throat, right, and shoved at them. They're sick of hearing it at work too, because they hear it from their boss, like, you need to have an AI enabled this. We actually had a customer the other day who was like, we love you, but one of the things we got to like, and this was months ago before we had some AI features. They said, we love you, but we can't buy anything that's not AI enabled. And the guy said, this is how much he said. He's like, I want to come work for you. This is how much he liked what we do. I want to come work for you. I don't know if I can sell this up my management chain because you're not AI enabled. We added an AI case summary. We've added a couple other AI features in here and there. There are places for AI. We're not anti-AI. However, we are very, very much pragmatic and sticklers for the right tool for the right job. We see companies going around. I can think of both examples. I'm gonna give you extremes. There's one company, I won't name them, that doesn't use AI, but they use a lot of SOAR playbooks and they advertise. And like I've seen the CEO make posts. We have over 250 playbook steps, and I'm like, dude, that sounds brittle. That sounds like duct tape, baling wire. Like run from that. It's going to break and it's going to catastrophically fail. If I was a customer and I knew anything about you, I would run from you, right? Stop advertising that. On the other side, like a couple weeks ago, there's another big AI vendor who I think you know who I'm talking about, Jake, who is like, we have over 100 LLM invocations for every detection. I'm like, dude, that's also brittle. That's the other direction. Like, good grief, guys, can you not understand this? Like, at the end of the day, there's a right way to work cases. There's maybe plus or minus 5% argument about where that goes. Some of these AI vendors go, what we're going to do is, you see, Jake, we're going to go and when we get your detection and it comes in, I'm going to go ask the AI to come up with a set of workflow steps because I have no freaking idea how to do it. Right. So I'm going to make him come up with this. That's going to cost like 20, 30 seconds time of compute. Then I'm going to have them all like agentically go out. Basically, guys, all it means is threads. They're going to go do some threaded processing. Big deal. They're going to go out and do the thing. We're going to use a new word called agentic. By the way, we have some agentic stuff. It's non-AI agentic, but whatever. They're going to often do these things. And when they come back, then we're going to go compare the notes. And then we're going to do the next steps and do the next steps. And that's where these 100 plus LLM invocations are. And this goes back to the old adage of when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? To these people right now, we're in this buzzwordy world where VC capital, because the macroeconomics were bizarre for the last 5 years, right? We had like heyday in 2020, 21, then the fundamentals changed completely, kind of a mini recession, no one wants to call it a recession, whatever. Get all this pent up capital. And then when they're looking for a place to put it, ChatGPT, those guys came out and we've got like, cool, we got some stuff we're able to go do now. And everyone just changed the world. Let's go. Everyone's like, I've got capital. Let's throw it at AI. It's going to save my last couple of years of bad investing. Let's go. Let's go throw it in there. So now everybody and their brother just says AI, whatever, and they get in here. And by the way, a big way you can tell if they don't have a product that they show you, if they can't show you they're stopping bad guys with it, if they don't have customers, like actual customers, not investors and advisors on the website, but real people saying that they're using it, it's not real. It's just not real. So you've got all that crap going on. And at the same time, Jake, so yeah, the 40 different vendors, most of those, fortunately, are not chasing our same ICP, our ideal customer profile. Most of those are chasing what I would call the DIY security teams. They're the same security teams that say, I don't need CrowdStrike. I've got Sysmon data in my SIM, and I'm just going to go and spend the next 10 years of my life pretending that one FTE is going to be able to manufacture the detection rules that are on par with CrowdStrike. That's stupid. It's the same people that are over here going, I think that I can do all the same process engineering better than anybody. So I'm going to go do SOAR. And then SOAR failed. And then we moved to AI enabled SOAR, which is just the same thing. I remember when Torque first came out and they did that, I was really scared at first. Shout out to the Torque guys. Cool product, cool branding, whatever. But I knew that they weren't going to be a threat to my customer because in their demo, they said, oh, what we'll do is we'll just point Torque at your Confluence page and read your process and then we'll go build workflows off that. I was laughing. Dude, I've worked I've worked at literally the biggest company in the world and all kinds of companies in between. Process documentation barely exists, for one. For two, it's usually written by somebody who hasn't really thoroughly thought about all the scenarios. Definitely doesn't have any edge cases, for three. And like, okay, and then how's it going to actually work in practice? Like in reality, they're going to get behind the eight ball. When you buy Wirespeed, you're actually buying managed process. We are a managed process. That's what we're doing. We're not doing any of that junk. The other thing that differentiates us between the other 39 companies in this space is that we're complete. We have our own data lake. We're not plumbing into all the little DIY tools. We're all about outcomes. At the end of the day, we want the customer that says, I am worried about breaches. I am worried about regulatory stuff. I'm worried about BEC that all of cyber won't really talk about. It's really wire fraud, guys. Wake up. It's our fault, not the financial services company's fault. But a lot of times you'll have companies go, oh, that's your accounting system's problem. But no, we lean into that hard. So you've got all this going on, and we're trying to get the outcomes. Just get customers that want the results from that. They want the simplicity of it. They don't want to spend a fortune. They don't have time to go wire up 1,400 systems and do all this complicated junk. They're just like, dude, here's where I'm at. And we go, cool. In 4 clicks, I get all of your Microsoft stuff. Give me a copy and paste. I'll get your Sentinel one. Here's your guard duty. Like, it's a little bit more complicated. Thank you, AWS. And now I've got here's your stuff, right? I can go integrate into your Teams or in your Slack. We've got it. We've got the core of what you need. All of it's here. Don't worry about buying a SIM. We've got a data lake. It's amazing fast. It's powered by ClickHouse. It's cool tech. It blows my mind. Got it all right there. These other companies are not doing that. They're focused on one thing, and that's trying to take an event and on the fly at runtime figure out what to do with it. And I think it's a crazy idea. But Jake, I think the thing to watch though, and I think this is what you and I talked about before,
Mhm.
if this category is real, the AI SecOps stuff, and I'm borrowing this from Adrian Sanabria. So shout out to Adrian. Um, I think this is a brilliant idea. I think he's dead on right, and I'm going to go +1 on this. If this category is really great, we're going to see an early exit this year, and it's not going to be like and to be like. Let me clarify what that means. All these AI SecOps companies, there's been so much money throwing at them over the last 2024 and 25. They've got financial runway. They've got burn rate. Like they can burn into 2026, like almost all of them. So that's not the issue. The issue is, so we won't see anyone like fail, right? Probably in 2025. We'll probably start to see some of them fail in 2026. And what I think will happen is the ones that are just chat PPT, just PowerPoint, and they're not actually solving anything. You'll see them slowly get absorbed by other bigger companies, and they'll write them off as like it's an exit and it's successful. But when you look at if you could go look at the term sheet and you could go look at the debt that was there, like it. And how much the investors got paid out, it's going to be basically a liquidation. It's going to be a fire sale. And we'll see some of that for sure, right? Because there's just too many players for this not to happen. But if the category is great as a whole, we'll see at least one go, yeah, I'm kind of killing it. And there'll be a big player like a Palo Alto or a CrowdStrike or whomever will come in and go, yeah, I'm going to snag this guy up and we're going to make it part of the stack because those founders go, cool, I get a really quick 100 million exit or whatever. And that's good with me. I'm done. I'd love to get out. And you'll see that. But if we don't see that happen, that's the big indication. There's a lot of work to be done in this space, right?
Mhm.
A lot of it. And the AI alone is not going to be enough. And that's our premise. That's our thesis. It's good tech. We use it. We have it. We have it where it makes sense. We let it do what it's good at. Like Jake, my co-founder, calls it taming the drunken toddler, right? It's a drunken toddler that just will opine whatever randomly. So we've got to go like pull it in and use it in the right way. And you can't even like going down this like one last little rabbit hole. You can't even do quality assurance on it right if you stop and think about it. It's a non-deterministic system, right? So for all the people that have been screaming like supply chain for all these years, like we've all seen that XKCD comic with all the blocks, and there's like this one tiny little like toothpick, and it's got an arrow, and it's like some guy in Nebraska maintaining this open source code, and like that was if you remember the XE utils and that supply chain thing, where a Chinese threat actor like social engineered his way in to commandeer that, and almost basically ODA'd the entire planet, right? So we've got that. Like that's a supply chain attack. Well, how is it not also a supply chain concern when you're bringing all your alert telemetry to an AI vendor who's predominantly just doing prompt engineering on a foundation model that's going to change weekly, daily that you can't control? It's a giant black box that is constantly changing. That's crazy if you stop and think about it. If we just paused on that moment and looked at it like, no, let's not let this thing make verdicts. We can use it for other technologies, great for summarizing data, grammar, all kinds of stuff, maybe transformations. But for making a security decision, that's crazy, right? You can't do quality assurance on it when it's non-deterministic. Everything we do for ours is deterministic, which means if I go and part of our statistical analysis that we use, which is called AQL, it's on our blog, acceptable quality limits. Read it, read about it. We'll take an event, we'll go look at it, and if I see a problem with it, we can say, okay, there's a missing edge case or a boundary condition we need to go cover. We go fix it, we can unit test it, we can regression test it, we can see it's going to work. Good luck doing that with prompts. You can't. You cannot do that with AI. You cannot do it with large language models at all. If someone can figure that out, that's great. What most of these other vendors are doing, they'll just go and say, well, when model number one does a thing, I'm going to put model number two and I'm going to inspect it. And like, well, what about that? Well, I'll put a model number three looking at this and then it's models all the way down, turtles all the way down. It's crazy. We're in a weird world, Jake.
Yeah.
We take a very sane approach.
Yeah, there's so many questions that are being asked, and I think obviously they're going to answer themselves by the sounds of it over the next 12, 18 months. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting space to watch for sure. But yeah, unreal. I mean, a few quick fire questions I'd like to end
Yeah.
on just before we wrap up, Tim. But um, what what's kind of the biggest leadership lesson? You've obviously worked with some kind of amazing pioneers in the space and some amazing leaders. What's kind of been the biggest leadership lesson that you've been passed on by them or that you've experienced firsthand in this role or previous positions?
I'd say be the boss you would want to work for, right?
Nice.
Is has been something I learned years ago. The same way that I take that same exact concept and say we want to be the MDR that we'd want to buy, right? We want to be the provider that I like. Why we joke and we say we're the anti-vendor vendor. We're like, why there's no lead capture forms on our website. There's no cookie banners. Sorry, EU. If you're in the EU, we do give the cookie banner because your laws are weird. But outside of that, like we don't want to be annoying, right? We don't like that. You can spin up a tenant and get a price around our website without talking to sales. We still You can talk to us if you want to us. We'd love to talk to you, but you don't have to. Same exact concept with like leading, right? I took one of my when I got asked to come over and build the red team at Walmart. I wanted to lead it, not because I wanted to be the manager guy, right? I wanted to lead it because I didn't want someone else to come in and screw it up. I wanted it to be amazing. I had ideas of what a good program should be, and I was like, dude, if I don't run it, I risk some pointy-haired boss, Dilbert reference, to just muck it up, and I don't want that at all. So it's always been my mentality. That was my mentality when I was at Sideris. At my peak, I had 400 something people under me, and leaders of leaders and teaching leaders of leaders of leaders. Actually, that was a fun new adventure for me as well to be able to go do that. And it was the same message I told them: just you got to be real, you got to be vulnerable, you got to be the boss you want to be, that you'd want to have.
Amazing. It's good advice there. Speaking of references, what podcast episode or book shaped your thinking?
Actually, here's one right here I keep on this shelf for this reason. This is The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor. And once upon a time, so I've been in, I tell people I've been in cyber for 25 years. The reality is there was about a year and a half where I was just in tech and I was not in cyber. I went and led an e-commerce dev team at a subsidiary of a company I was working for, where I'd previously been in security work. And I liked it. It was shipping features. It was good. I needed a break. The politics of the company, I didn't want to switch companies, right?
Mhm.
And it was fine. But one of the cool things that happened in that time was we did a book club, and my boss brought about 10 of us, and we did a book club. And the book we read at the time was this book, The Happiness Advantage, and it was talking about basically the gist of it. And he did a TED talk back when TED talks were not cheesy to reference.
Mhm.
I think I just cheesed a little bit on that, just even mentioning TED talk here. But the gist of it was, they at Harvard, they were studying performance, and they found out that happy people were more performant. And they also found out that you can't make somebody happy. Somebody has to become happy on their own, and then they will perform better. And in that, one of the chapters talked about, you view your profession, your work, as either a calling, a career, or just a job. And for me, I realized at that time I had switched from calling, like security felt like a calling from day one. Like I back when I was coming out of school, there basically weren't security people. Like there were very few, right? It was really hard to get the kind of work, and I from day one found a way to get in and have a security title job. So for me, it was a calling, and just shipping features and code, that became a career. I was in career mode. I was just doing it, and a lot of times it became basically a job where I was like, just what's the next work? Go punch a clock. Let's go do the thing. Get out. Think about nights. Think about weekends. Everything else. And when I read this book, I was like, I said two things to my boss. I said, one, please don't ever cancel future book clubs. This is really good. And by the way, number two, here's my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to get back into security. And so that was probably one of the most important things. And that was many years ago, but that got me kind of recentered for sure.
Yeah, our founder's a big book advocate, so I'm sure he's read it. But if not, I'll definitely put it on his radar and my own as well. But and then finally, in terms of, I suppose, a wider audience, what's the best piece of advice you would have for a startup leader?
Really want to do it. I really want to do it. Yeah, be just I think you have to really want to do it. What's funny is when we show people what we built, people are amazed at how much we built in a year. And I think what's also really interesting is we would tell you we probably feel like we haven't built nearly as much as we'd like, right? And so and we always there's a urgency behind what we do, and we always feel like there's more, there's more, there's more. We get so much we want to go do and build. Gotta go build this, gotta go do this, gotta go do this. And I think that if you don't have that, that's probably a good indication. People smarter than me that have done it a couple of times before reassured me that I wasn't stupid to walk away from a W-2 job because had that tenacity, that I didn't know necessarily if I had or not, but I knew that I was ready to try. I think you have to be able to do that. I think you need to have de-risked the situation. Everything another thing I think I've learned about all this is everything's about de-risking.
Mhm.
We bootstrapped to revenue. We bootstrapped for basically almost a year on our own, which meant no paycheck, right? Very, very big deal. I'm, married, have kids. So I needed to be in a situation where I could live off savings and I had all my stuff taken care of, no real debt, like it's not that big of a deal. And same for Jake. He had to be able to do the same thing. So like having that allowed a couple things. One, when we started talking to seed investors, we had de-risked it because we already had revenue. We already had a product. Most of the time when they were talking to seed, like when a seed around investors talking to you, you're a PowerPoint slide. You're an idea. Like we had something tangible. We had revenue. We had signed customers that de-risked it for them. And then I know going into the next round, it's also about there's stages of this, like an A round investor, a B round investor, they're all looking for certain signs of risk reduction. The best investors aren't big risk takers. They're actually good identifiers of de-risked situations. They're maybe better at that than others. That's the reason why they're good. And so I'd say be tenacious, be really want to do it, and figure out the ways to remove the risk from you. Like for me, having money to live off of that de-risked it.
Mhm.
Also, there's the a good argument of, will you regret not doing it? Right? If it'll haunt you because you didn't do it, and then you go see someone else build something very similar and get success out of it, like, are you gonna be over here going, dude, I could have done that, right? And it's like the what is it? The Teddy Roosevelt, the Man in the Arena. You know, if you're familiar with that, and it was like a poem or whatever you call that piece of literature. It's like don't criticize the guy in the stands that criticizes. He doesn't have any value, any weight. It's the guy who actually tried. It's the guy who went in the arena and then tried it. So for me, it was got to do it. I know what's here, committed to doing it. When we see, it's really easy, I think, when you see a competitor to go pull up a new feature and you're like, man, I wish I already had that feature. I wish we could already do that thing. Like, first of all, there's enough market that they won't care. Even if you have the exact same features as somebody else, there's enough market. There's other ways to position it. People buy for other reasons. There's a lot of things out there. So just being able to de-risk it and be truly motivated about what you're trying to do, I think. At
Nice.
least that's for me. So if I crash and burn and you look at this and this is like 2028 and Wirespeed doesn't exist and exit miserably, do not follow any of that. If we actually have something really, really good in 2028, 29, 30, whatever, then we serendipitously or whatever did it right. Or as the phrase goes, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Nice. Yeah, let's end it on that. I mean, amazing chat. Just finally, where can people follow Wirespeed's journey? Are you guys going to be at RSA? Where can people find you guys in the next kind of I suppose online and in
Yeah.
person in the next 6 months?
Well, obviously, wirespeed.co for sure. Got blogs and stuff there. We're pretty active on LinkedIn, kind of sort of figuring out the LinkedIn algorithm to get content to spin around. Please give us a follow there. You're boosting a little company. Even if you don't ever buy from us, you're helping us. I appreciate it. Just watch the journey. We're on X, but man, I think X's algorithm is worse than it's ever been. So I don't know the extent to which it's not a first class place that we're going to put content for the time being. But primarily, it's just going to be LinkedIn in our site. So yeah, you can find us there. We'll be around at Black Hat, sponsoring a very, very because we're very efficient about how we spend too, but at the same time we want to have a little fun. So we're sponsoring the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Smackdown put on by one of our investors, Jeremiah Grossman. So I think it's the 13th iteration at Black Hat this year, where a bunch of believe it or not, cyber people really like jujitsu. There's a big set of overlap. I've written a lot about it if you're really curious, and there's gonna be a blog on our website about that summarizes all of it. Come find us there. Other than that, we're gonna be wandering around. You can ping me. Glad to do a meeting, or meet virtually. That's probably the best thing. That's what you did, Jake, is just reached out. So that's awesome.
Where the world's going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
jiu-jitsu, I like that. I'll have to get the team to check that out when they're out there. But yeah, great chat, Tim. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to see how you guys continue to grow and scale, and yeah, looking forward to keeping an eye on you guys moving forward.
Thank you. My pleasure very much. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much for doing it.
Thank you.